The gravity of this situation cannot be understated. Sydney has narrowly avoided a potential mass casualty event after police discovered a caravan packed with explosives and the addresses of several Jewish targets across the city. The plot, if executed, could have resulted in one of the worst terror attacks to ever take place on Australian soil. Former New South Wales Police detective and terror investigator Peter Moroney joins us live. Good morning to you.
Morning, mate.
Explain to us how much damage that caravan full of explosives could have inflicted.
Look, if you think about it in terms of if it was positioned, let's say in George Street, Sydney, where we have a large number of pedestrians walking around, depending on the size of the caravan, clearly from the volume of explosives that have been reported, the casualties would have to, depending on the time of the day it was detonated, would be into the thousands, if not the tens of thousands. And then you've got to extrapolate that out over to property damage, building damage, and so on. And that doesn't then take into play, that's the physical side of the house, but now we've got to deal with the mental anguish and the mental issues, the mental health issues that are going to come with such an incident.
How does someone get their hands on that much firepower without raising an alarm?
I understand it was from the press conference of Deputy Commissioner Hudson, the gel's been traced back to a mine where it was stolen. Now, when it was actually stolen hasn't been released. But they will certainly, that is the police strike force, will certainly revisit that. They'll go back over that. There are mandatory conditions around the reporting of such items. So that will be one of the avenues that the police are certainly going to pursue, and a dedicated team will pursue those explosives and trying to at least track them and trace them as far as we know. As we said, we don't know if they were stolen, let's say, 12 months ago. If they were, we've got a black hole of information for 12 months, which adds to the difficulty for the police.
OK, so this was discovered on January 19. We're many days past that now, and we understand it was only released yesterday because it was leaked to a newspaper.
Yeah.
As a former detective, can you explain to us why it wouldn't have been released to the public, this information, or at least why they wouldn't have told the Jewish community?
Yeah, sure. Now, look, it does, and I know it sounds unfathomable from a person's point of view. I've been involved in many terrorism operations on and around New Year's Eve where we've had threats and they're considered real threats. And the police will put in place any number of resources that the public won't generally see. One of the reasons that the information wasn't made public is that the police are trying to identify who's responsible. They've got a far better chance of succeeding at that if the criminals or the criminal syndicate that's at play doesn't know what the police know. They don't know what's been seized. They don't know when it was seized. So I can certainly understand that level of covertness, and it's not an unusual tactic. I think what the public should take from it, and certainly from my experience with counter-terrorism matters, and particularly when the threat level is reached at a certain threshold, then preservation of life becomes the utmost, and the police, if they believe there were certain figures, and I certainly can't speak for the police, but I know from their methodology, if the threat hit a certain level, the public certainly would have been informed without a doubt. Right,
so it could have put more lives in danger if they'd actually made it public. Thank you very much. We appreciate your insight, Peter.
Pleasure.
And the New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, will join us live very soon for more on that van bomb plot. Here's Sherbo.